Some ghostly phenomena can be dismissed as having a natural cause. Perhaps it was just a trick of the light or sound being carried from afar. A door opening by itself could be the result of gravity pulling on uneven hinges. Rusting sounds in the attic may be the activity of squirrels that found their way in. Other phenomena, however, are harder to explain away. Diane Selby had a brush with the unexplainable when she was just a student working at the Kappa Kappa Gamma headquarters in the late 1950s. And by the way, this is the Snowden Gray House. She came in one day to hear an odd sound in the closet. She looked in and found the vacuum running. Thinking that the cleaning lady Adele had just forgotten to turn it off before putting it away, she flipped the switch off and then went up to her office on the second floor. When Adele came in, Diane mentioned it to her, Diane mentioned to her that she had left the vacuum running in the closet. Adele gave her a funny look. "Well, that's impossible," she said. "There's no electricity in the closet." Now that Diane thought about it, she hadn't seen the cord coming out of the closet for it to have been plugged in elsewhere. Perplexed, they both went downstairs to investigate. They opened the door to the closet only to find that the vacuum cleaner was running again. If having an illustrious history was necessary for a house to be haunted, the Snowden Gray House would certainly meet the requirement. Prosperous silk merchant Philip T. Snowden and his wife Abigail built the elaborate mansion in 1852 just down the block from the Kelton House on Town Street. Abigail was a merchant herself, running her own millinery shop. The Snowdens had a close relationship with famous Civil War era politician Salmon P. Chase. There are indications that he may have lived with them at some point while he was the governor of Ohio in the 1850s. Unfortunately, Snowden became less prosperous over the years, and his home was sold at a sheriff's auction in 1860. The mansion then became the home of Governor David Todd. During his time there, the home was used to entertain many distinguished guests, including future President Andrew Andrew Johnson. After Todd's tenure as governor ended, the house was bought by banker David S. Gray and his family. The house suffered from a fire in 1872, but was rebuilt under the guidance of renowned architect George Bellows Sr. The Gray family lived there until David Gray's death in 1922. From there, it passed into the hands of Columbus Women's Club for use as a clubhouse. They added an auditorium onto the back of the building. Financial issues exacerbated by the Great Depression caused them to sell the house less than 20 years later. In the following decade, it passed through many hands, eventually to be used as a boarding house. Like the Kelton House, the Snowden Gray House was rescued by a women's organization. In 1951, the house was bought by Clara O. Pierce for use as the international headquarters of Kappa Kappa Gamma, a sorority. They restored the facade to the way that it had been in the Civil War. Part of the building was turned into the Heritage Museum to honor both the history of the Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority and that of the mansion itself. Now listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the house once again exhibits the grandeur it had once displayed in Victorian heyday. The vacuum cleaner incident was not the only time that Diane had noticed something odd about the place. The antiques dealer came by once for a tour. Diane was delighted to take him around from room to room while he pointed out various antiques and told her a little more about them. When she opened the door to one room, however, she was a little embarrassed to let him in. The room was not as tidy as she would have liked to have seen. In particular, she noticed that there was an indentation in a love seat, as if someone was sitting in it. She assumed that the stuffing and the upholstery was starting to wear, and that Adele had not thought to smooth the indentation when she cleaned the room. She showed him the room quickly and rushed him out as soon as she possibly could. Back out in the hallway, he asked, "Oh, so you felt them too?" Diane did not know what he meant. He explained that he was physically sensitive and that he had several spirits in the room. He had sensed several spirits in the room. Diane was kind of unnerved by that. The gentleman reassured her that the ghosts were not there to harm anyone. They just wanted to be left alone. Diane laughed and said that she was more than happy to stay away from them. The spirits were not as cooperative about leaving her alone, though. Diane's co-worker had a desk right outside the window, while Diane was a little farther over. Just below the window was a courtyard dating back to the years when the house had been the governor's residence. On a pleasant afternoon when they were both working, Diane heard the sounds of a musical quartet playing in the courtyard. The music being played was much earlier time. Diane glanced over at her office mate, who did not seem to notice a thing. Diane was curious about the music, though. It was too loud to be coming from the neighbors, but it was before transistor radios were commonplace. No one could have had a radio in the courtyard. She got up and looked out the window and saw that the courtyard was mysteriously empty. Wondering if she was losing her mind, she asked her coworker if she heard the music too. The coworker didn't even look up from what she was doing. She implied that she did hear it. "But," stammered Diane, "there's nobody out there." The coworker, with her eyes still on her work, said, "Yes, I know." The coworker was not the only one who was nonchalant about the strange happenings in the house. One day, while Diane and her coworker Karen were eating lunch downstairs, they saw a man in a black coat coming up the stairway. Considering that they were the only staff members in the house at the time and the doors were locked, they were both concerned that someone had broken in. They called the police. The police came but were unable to find the man. In fact, they did not find anything amiss. The doors were all locked, and they were supposed to, as if they were supposed to have been. Clara Pierce arrived shortly thereafter, and in her usual no-nonsense fashion sent the policemen on their way. Diane and Karen told Miss Pierce that they didn't understand why the police didn't find the interloper. I suck at reading this story today, honey. Sorry. They were sure that they had seen the man in black go up the stairs. Miss Pierce was unconcerned. "Yes," she said, very matter-of-factly. "I've seen him be here before, too." Other tales over the years have mentioned sightings of a woman in a pink bathrobe and an elegantly dressed woman in a Civil War era gown. Although Diane has never seen them, she has no doubt that they do exist. Whether they lived there when it was the governor's mansion or a rundown boarding house, even for the ghosts, there's no place like home.